been reading this gospel all week. I have to say, it is one of the most super packed gospels with all kinds of hidden information and things that don't appear at first look. For example, don't take any sandals, any walking stick, all of this information. But there's one line I'd like to pull out. Every single line, there is meaning behind it. And you should go to your browser, put commentary, and then put the passage up there, and you'll get a load of information. But the one I want to pick out is the one where Jesus says, when you go into a house, eat whatever they put before you. Really? Now, if he's talking to Jews, Jews couldn't eat whatever they put before them. They had to eat kosher food. They couldn't eat pork. The list went on and on. So what is Jesus saying? It's not important anymore? Or was he noticing, even though it's written in his gospel time, but since then Paul has preached to the Gentiles, and now it's a heavily Gentile church, is he simply acknowledging with these words, eat anything now? It's a new church. In fact, all of these scriptures today, that's probably the underlying theme. It's a new church. It's a new Israel. It's a new Jerusalem. It's a new world. It's a new life. In the first reading of gospel, specifically, it mentions a new Jerusalem, or Jesus going to Jerusalem. Why? To die. So Jerusalem takes a prominent place, and in Isaiah, this is the last chapter of Isaiah. After all the woes that Israel has experienced, Jerusalem has been punished, and the temple has been torn down, and all kinds of struggle and problem. But in the last chapter, a promise is given. Israel will rise up. It will be new, the new Jerusalem. And this is the promise given. And in the second reading, although it doesn't say the new Jerusalem, everything is new in Jesus Christ, especially through his death and resurrection. And so he says, all of you have been crucified with me, and I have been crucified with you. And then he says that no longer does circumcision matter, or for that matter, neither does uncircumcision. What in the heck is uncircumcision? I'm not a doctor or nurse, but I think if you get circumcised, you can't uncircumcise yourself. You can explain that to the children later. That's out of my hands. But what is the scripture saying? That now it's almost like a song. Everything is new in Christ because of that death and resurrection. Everything is new. It's a new creation. So now in the gospel, Jesus is going towards Jerusalem, and he sends out 72 to get to the places he's going to go after them, sharing his ministry. And it's kind of strange what he says today about don't take this, don't take that. I don't know about you. When I go on a trip, I'm not real good at making the lists, or I make them, but I lose the list. But the people that are really good at creating lists and they're making sure everything gets there. I go on a vacation, I forgot my swimming trunks. Oh, my God. Oh, I forgot my meds. Oh, my God. But the people who make good lists get it all done. And that's what it sounds like Jesus is saying. But I don't know if it's a literal gospel. I don't know if he's literally saying don't do it. I'll come back to that. But I think there's a message underneath it. After reading these scriptures again and again and trying to focus on them, I decided that the gospel really is a question about trust. Jesus is saying, don't trust in sandals and walking sticks and money bags and where you're going to stay. Just trust in God, and God will take care of you. It's a beautiful message. But I therefore went to one of those sites that gives you all these different sayings. And here's the one that really struck me. It says this. It's anonymous, I think. You are only confined by the walls you build yourself. You are only confined by the walls you build yourself. How absolutely true. There's so many walls in our lives. Many of them are given to us before we're even 3 years old. Parents, godparents, grandparents, you're passing on your walls to your children, whether you like it or not. Sometimes it's not in word, it's just in action. They get your fears, they get your angers, they get your jealousies, they get your unwillingness to forgive, unwillingness to ask for forgiveness, prejudices, bad attitudes, good ones too. They get it all. Some them are walls that confine, and they get them before they know them, so they've learned them before they can even articulate them. And then there's all those walls that develop in life for all kinds of reasons. If we have a poor self-image, or we don't believe in our gifts and talents, or we're bashful and shy and afraid, walls go up. We don't try things because, well, maybe we can't do it. I can't. Like the Valley Girl says, I can't. We get these walls that just grow in us and prevent us from becoming all that we can become. We accept them sometimes without knowing it. Other times, we decide them. We decide on our walls. But as much as we can decide on them, we could also decide to take them down. That's a choice we have. We can reduce the walls and eradicate the walls if we do it consciously. When I was in the seminary, in the college, I met this friend of mine, Steve, who was an only child. His father had died of MS. His mother, in later life, developed MS, but she already had a very big wall in her life. She had polio when she was a little girl, so she couldn't walk. Donna Jean is her name. We called her DJ, and DJ was extraordinary. She was a giant in my eyes because there were walls that were given to her that she had no power over, but she refused to let those walls confine her. So although she couldn't walk, she could drive a car. Now, I had heard of cars with hand pedals and all, but I'd never seen one, and I'd never met anybody who drove one. But there was DJ, and it was quite a scene to watch her get into her car. The only help she needed was somebody to fold up her wheelchair and put it in the trunk and get it out for her. But she'd get her wheelchair over to the door, have the door open, and then she'd put this board on the seat of the wheelchair under her fanny and to the seat of the car. She'd move her fanny down, get herself in the car. Then she'd put the board in. Then she'd have to lift her legs and put them in because she couldn't lift them. And then she'd start the car and drive off. She drove better than I did, safer than I did. And nobody would ever know. They would be looking at the after effect. There's this woman driving down the street waving, and they go, oh, look at her driving the car. With her hands, that's it. And she basically said, I can't walk, but that doesn't mean I can't drive. Find a way. And she found it. I like that spirit. Tear down the walls. There was a movie also that was very popular when I was a young priest. I think you can even watch it online. It's called A Day in the Life of Bonnie Consolo. And it was about a woman who was born from a mother who had taken, I can never say the word, familicide or familialide. It was a drug that they took in the 50s and 60s and 70s. And the effect of this drug caused for many people to have children born without arms or legs or a little tiny arm. And so here's this Bonnie Consolo born without any arms. Now, one of the things that often happened, not always, was that they got incredible extra use of their legs. So things that they could do with their hands, they did with their legs and their feet. And this movie is about a woman who had these confining walls, no arms. Now, in addition to the walls of her physical features, were the walls that come with it. Like when she'd go down the street, little kids would say, Mommy, Mommy, look, she doesn't have any arms. They'd scream it out. They weren't being mean. They were just surprised, and they were expressing it. But there were other people who weren't surprised. They were somehow indignant. For example, in the market, she had incredible use of her legs. And I can't do this with my leg, but pretend this is my leg. She'd lift her leg up, take fruit out of the stand, and then put it higher above her, up into the place where you weigh it. And add fruit and all of this with her legs and feet. And then some people would complain to the manager, she's touching food with her feet. Oh my God. So the walls people wanted to put up around, she didn't care. And part of it was her grandma. When she was little, her grandmother decided, I'm not going to let her build these walls that she can't do. So when she'd say, Grandma, can you do this for me? She'd say, no, try it yourself first, honey. You can do it. And she'd do it. She'd do it. Because her grandma wouldn't build another wall. But she'd tell her, you're capable. And she was so grateful to her grandmother when she grew up. She said, she's the one who got me to be free and to use all my gifts. The greatest moment in the film for me is when she went to pay for her food. She put it all up with her feet on the thing where the goes by and counts it, and he adds up all the prices. And then she takes out her checkbook out of her purse with her foot, and she writes a check with her foot. Now, if you told me she did, I said, oh, get out of here. You're lying. Get out of here. She did not. I saw it with my own eyes. She took the pen into her toes and wrote with beautiful footmanship or penmanship. I don't know what it was, but it was better than a lot of people that had to use their hands. Amazing, amazing. And I said, wow, now this woman is rejecting the walls that life has given her and said, some she couldn't overcome, but said, I will do everything I can, and I will not be limited just because I don't have arms and hands. That's what I think Jesus is getting at. I don't think he's literally saying, don't take sandals, ridiculous. Don't take a walking stick, please. Don't take any money. That's a good one, huh? I don't think Jesus is saying that, but I think he's saying that provocatively, like he always said everything provocatively, like the great teacher he was, to get us to get out of our minds and listen to the deeper question. What was the deeper question? Underneath all of those things that we do to make life work reasonably, underneath it's a bigger issue. It's the trust that we have in life. Because down here, if we're creating walls, even if we have the capabilities here, we won't realize them because we've already built the walls to prevent them. But what if down here underneath it all, we keep saying, I can, I want to, Lord help me, teach me, fill me, guide me, give me. I want to become all that I can be. And when I bump up against obstacles and I know I can't go any further here, maybe there's another way. I'll drive with my hands. Last week, Jesus was calling disciples, and they all had excuses. And again, in provocative language, well, Lord, I want to follow you, but I have to bury my father. Let the dead bury the dead. What was he saying? Look, you're going to have to really commit. Today, he sends his disciples forth, and he tells them he's going to be sending them like lambs among wolves. It's going to be tough. Don't even take shoes, and don't take a walking stick or money. Because I think underneath he wanted to build their confidence, to believe that he really was calling them and really sending them and that they could do the mission. Today in these scriptures, I think the invitation is, yes, to admit we all have walls. Some were given to us, some we developed on our own, but we also can take them down. And if we can build that trust in God and open ourselves to God and invite God into our destruction of our walls, it can take place.